All right, the movie that of my choice pertaining to insider's threat is Jurassic Park. This movie came out in 1993, and it was revolutionary for its time frame. It combined CGI with animatronics, um, and it was directed by one of my favorite directors, Steven Spielberg, who also made such movies such as Jaws. Um, and I chose this specifically because majority of the events that pertained in the movie could have been prevented if it wasn't for the major insider threat. Um, so the basic movie plot goes like this, for those who haven't seen it. Um, Scientists has discovered an intact DNA sample from a fossilized ember, or should I say mosquito, of the age of the dinosaurs during Jurassic era. The scientists synthesized the data and created living dinosaurs. The company that funded this creation was called InGen. They developed these creations and um, developed an amusement park to display their creations to the public for entertainment as well as educational purposes. But the company's legal team requested that the park get expert endorsements. So they found a team of scientists to come over to see the park before its opening day. To Among the experts were a leading expert paleontologist named Alan. For some reason, I can't remember his first name. But while these experts were visiting the park, unfortunate events occurred, resulting in the park's safety measures failing, leaving the park and crew as well as guests struggling to survive. And it's a brilliant film, and if you haven't seen it, I recommend going and seeing it. The insider threat category that I chose for this was malicious user. A malicious user are employees that have legitimate access but willfully extract data or intellectual property. In this case, a employee named Nedre, who had legitimate access, felt he should been paid more than his contract entitled him to, and he used his access to obtain financial gain from a competitor company. By doing so, he created a uh, failure in the system that allowed him to bypass current security systems in place. But this created um, a way for the systems to have complete failure, and the dinosaurs broke through their inhabitants and started attacking the guests. Mainly the Tyrannosaurus Rex. He may not have intended to destroy the park system, but because he was trying to cover his tracks the way he did, it causes damage um, to the systems by his negligence. Why engine was vulnerable? It relied on only one person to code and run the automation systems that they had in place and security systems. Um, he was an expert in his field, and they just relied on either word of mouth or just the basic background check to see if he was capable of doing his job. They didn't do an investigative check or checked with previous employers to see how well he, one, did his job or performed it, and two, whether or not he was trustworthy. Two, there was no corporate oversight, and this was apparent when the boss, John Hammonds, wanted him to do his job, and he said he would get around to it, or blew him off, or just basically said, well, good luck finding someone better than I was. And that to me was a red flag, and it would have been a red flag to any employer, especially nowadays. Um, which brings me to the third point. Not recognizing the indicators of the potential threats within their company. Like I said, that was a red flag. His workstation was a red flag. The way he carried himself, basic hygienes, he just screamed unreliable. And for them to only have one person to do his job and not a team or have a backup person just set themselves up for failure. And my next point, which brings me to the next point, they solely relied on technology. There was no backup systems. There were no manual systems that they could convert to in case of failure or system failures. And basically, that tells me that they didn't have a contingency plan. And if they did, they didn't have enough manpower there to supply the contingency plan. They just had the basics, which that's what they wanted. It'd be totally human error free if the technology worked. Basically, they overstepped themselves. So my recommendations for this company is to have corporate or department oversight per department to make sure that people are doing their job and that they're trustworthy, and then have department policing. Say the department heads or the people within it police each other up. And when you're hiring, do investigative background checks, not just basic background checks. And then frequently check looking for indicators of potential threats within the employees. Basically, counsel your employees to figure out if they are still loyal to the company. And then set contract dates. That way, you could fire somebody as easily as hire them. Not rely on any one person to perform any task or duty, and have backup systems. Like I said, have a backup system in case the automated system goes down. You could convert it into the backup system, or if you have to change out or make improvements on the park, at least you still have protection for the guests and the employees there. And then, like I said, make frequent audits, not just to the employees, but make frequent audits to the security systems. That way you could confirm whether or not it's doing its job. So you could limit the possibility of failure. There's a lot of mistakes that this company did. And I mean, all bet it's for entertainment purposes, not how a company should run. Thank you.